Good morning, Mike. How you doing? Happy Monday.
Not just any Monday, Steve.
I know.
Happy Monday, and may the 4th be with you, my friend. Is
Thank you
this the
so much.
year I get you on top, get you to dive in to the Star Wars saga?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But that's why I kind of said, happy Monday, because I knew then you would take it on. And we just said off. There you go. There you go. We just set off camera. I expected you to fully turn out in either a Yoda or a Darth Vader full dress, but alas, you didn't. But yes,
It's an
great
exciting
day for
day
you.
for nerds everywhere, geeks like me, who will now be able to watch the complete Skywalker saga, all 9 episodes, plus The Mandalorian featuring this guy, Baby Yoda, on Disney Plus. Now, this is not a commercial for Disney Plus, but should you need some entertainment, I suggest you get Disney Plus during your quarantine life. It's a wonderful thing.
There you go. There you go. So yes, it is May 4th. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please do hit that subscribe button so you can be notified of all upcoming episodes of OSW Daily Live. And I just want to give a shout out to our contributors, Colliers and Connected Real Estate Magazine. These are folks, they don't pay for this advertising. They are contributors to Open Source Workplace. And this is our way of giving back to them by giving them a little bit of exposure during this show. But so Mike, all weekend I was thinking of you, and I'll
Oh
tell you
yeah,
why.
that was nice of you.
Because on Friday you were mentioning and you were excited about the prospect of having a barbecue with your family. Did that
Yes,
did that happen? How was it?
it it interesting story, and I'm not sure how well I can share it and keep it condensed, but Saturday morning, woke up very excited, ready for my. I have two daughters. One's married, so I have a son-in-law, and then I have another daughter. The second daughter has a boyfriend that has been part of our family in recent months. So we invited them all over, and we had decided that we do it outside. It was a beautiful day here in Northern Virginia, the DC metropolitan area, and it was 70 degrees. It's sunny. So we always talked about, keeping our social distance and staying outside and trying to make it, uh, safe that way. But the concern's always been from them to us. So they are concerned as young people who are likely not at high risk to worry about exposing us older folks, not that we're super old, but at the same time, we appreciate them. The media has certainly scared these kids into thinking that they are the carriers of this virus, and we all need to be protective. And again, rightfully so. We need to protect others, those more vulnerable than ourselves. So I think about that about my parents too. But on Saturday morning, we had this plan for a barbecue later in the day, and um, I knew that that type of thing would be on their mind. And here's the ironic twist that my wife will be mad at me for sharing, but she tells me before we confirm everything, she's like, I've had kind of a scratchy throat these last few days, and I'm sure it's pollen, I'm sure it's allergies, that type of thing's going on around here. The cherry blossoms are in bloom.
Mm.
We're all feeling it, but it's like, well, is there a 1% chance that she's got the coronavirus? What do we do? So I use that as a way to put my kids at ease and said, hey kids, want to let you know that we want to protect you and give you the chance to know that mom has a sore throat. We don't think it's anything, but just to be careful, we're going to wear masks to protect you, not you having to worry about, getting us
Hmm.
infected. So it kind of was this strange, in the mental hopscotch that goes on, again, another 80s new wave song reference, but mental hopscotch, missing persons, the emotional roller coaster, those things go into our heads, all these thoughts. So as the hour got closer to them coming over, you start thinking about all the possible angles. What about having them come in the house to use the restroom? What about food preparation? All these things, these are just previews of what it's going to be like when we get back to a workplace, get back to a normal post pandemic life, if there is such a thing. So anyway, the story, the end of the story, I'll keep it simple, is yes, they came over. Yes, we hugged them. We wore our masks when we hugged them, and then we took them off, and we were outside and we ate burgers and watched videos of the kids at Disney World and showed their significant others those kid, embarrassing kid videos. And we kind of had a lot of fun with it and had a great several hours together. And it went off really well and really felt good about it. But again, it was It was an emotional time. There was a lot of thoughts that I think I will apply to empathy, you know, empathizing with people and everybody's situation being different as we get back to opening the offices and re-engaging with the public and going back to the workplace. Those types of thoughts, when you start living these things out for the first time, it's like that first trip to Home Depot a month ago, or your first trip to the grocery store. You start just being hyper aware, and you have to get adjusted. But the good news is, once you get into that comfort again, you get pretty much relaxed again, and you feel pretty good about it. So thank you for asking. It was a great weekend in that regard, and I'm really glad to have been able to hug my daughters for the first time in a long time.
Good, good, good. Glad to hear. And obviously, this is Burger Month. How was the burger? Was it good?
No, I hoped you wouldn't ask about that, because there is a bit of a meat shortage, you know, in our area. The supply chain has been disrupted quite a bit. So my wife didn't get the normal burger meat that we use to create burgers. She got a little
Okay.
bit of a fattier, version, which is not bad for burgers. You know, fatter
Hmm.
beef is better for juicy burgers. But I didn't prepare properly, and this thing. And I made a lot of them, so the grill went up in flames. The juices from the burger like totally surprised me. And like, I opened the lid, and the thing is like a complete ignited,
Oh,
firestorm going on with the
uh,
burgers all on fire. So we're a little bit crispy on the outside, but turns out they were okay.
good, good, good. I'm glad I asked then. That's
Have you
funny.
had
I
one of
wish.
those barbecue accidents before
Oh,
where
for
that
sure.
happens to you?
Oh,
Yeah.
for
It
sure.
was
For
like, oh
sure.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And it's just like turn the thing off and just keep the distance, you know.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's exactly
I
what I
mean,
did.
yeah, and for me, growing up in the UK, a barbecue experience was typically under an umbrella, no word of a lie, a little barbecue going, because it just always rains in the summer
Rain.
in Northern Ireland. And everyone's huddled around in this little 6 feet, six, maybe 12-inch diameter little barbecue. That was kind of our barbecue experience back in the day. So I wasn't used to these big grills you get in the US, which are
Yeah.
fantastic. But yeah, I've had
It,
some
it
of
could be
those. I've
it could
had
be
some of
dangerous
those.
though. You got to be
They
careful.
can, they can, especially whenever
How was your
I'm
weekend?
hunting. Weekend was good, really, really
Yeah.
good. Beautiful weather, a lot of downtime, exercise, running, cycling, walking. Everything was really good. Got a chance to catch up with the family on Skype, and it's kind of interesting. Last week we talked about Zoom fatigue, and one of the things that's kind of interesting. Yeah, we get Zoom fatigue, but actually, whenever I go on the phone with the family, I actually don't feel that fatigue, and
Mm,
it's kind of an interesting thing that sort of went through my head is the perspective of that, and it's just I haven't didn't come to any conclusions, but a sense of yes, we get fatigue in the workplace, but actually the moment I go on with my family, all that fatigue just disappears. And it was kind of was chatting with them, and afterwards I got off the phone or off the video, and I was just like, that's really really interesting. So maybe it's the objective, maybe it's the conversations that we're having, and really, whenever we're getting that fatigue in the workplace, do we feel that actually the videos are as productive or being productive? Maybe we're not getting the answers or progression that we needed, or we're not accomplishing what we need to. And maybe perhaps that's why we're getting Zoom fatigue. Because I don't know about you, I know you have a weekly Zoom meeting or get together with your family. I don't know how if you
yeah.
feel the same way or whether that sort of emotion flows through you as you've experienced it.
Yeah, I think, it's funny, and it applies to this work experience too, because what is the objective? You said, what's the objective? And if you're meeting with your family, there shouldn't really be an objective other than just
Right.
catch up.
Hmm.
And we did have another family meeting this week, and I felt a little bit of Zoom fatigue with it because we invited the extended family. It was a lot of people on screen, and I wanted it to be a good experience, especially for my parents, because those are the ones that are on lockdown, and they really enjoy these times to get to see everybody's faces, and they did, and it did serve that purpose. But if it's funny, this mindset thing, it's like entering into this 8 a.m. OSW live, or doing my weekly Workplace Innovator Interactive. When you build up an anticipation, an expectation, an objective of putting it out there, and making sure it's valuable, and putting out the right content, and if you have that mindset, it puts a lot of pressure on you to almost perform. And that's what I struggle. I think we talked offline about this idea that no matter what I do, no matter how I want to be relaxed and just talk to you as a friend, as a fellow workplace, enthusiasts. I think we decided to call ourselves.
I
We're
see.
not experts, but we're enthusiasts. I just want this to be a conversation that people can listen in on, maybe contribute to, ask questions, and make it really a comfortable exchange. And and here I am just trying to calm myself down and get to that point where it's just a conversation, and it's not a lot of pressure to solve the world's problems in this half hour. And every week when I do my other live stream for Workplace Innovator, it shouldn't be pressure to reinvent the wheel and have this incredible thing. It's more just a gathering of a community of people, just like when our families get together. It's a gathering of people we care about, and let's have a talk and not feel like we have to fill every second with super, you know, earth-shattering information, right? I mean, let's just
Hmm.
talk. And maybe that's the answer for that, that idea of mimicking or replacing what goes on in the workplace in person, at least a little bit, by having these meetings instead of it being a agenda driven affair where it's very draining, it's very heavy on the cognitive load. Let's just maybe set up some spontaneous meetings where it's okay to sit and just be quiet, be reading something, and then maybe look up and then share it with the person on the video, like you would across a desk or a
Yeah,
table.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder, this is just coming to me now. Is
yeah,
that something
yeah.
we might be more deliberate about doing? Because that's where you get that more just relaxed, spontaneous engagement, as opposed to agenda driven presentation mode. Everybody's on. And that's why that Zoom fatigue uh, comes in. If you're always on when the camera's on, when I see that little light saying the camera's on me, make sure you're putting on your best performance. I don't know. I don't know if we can get to that level of comfort. You do a pretty good job with it. You're always the same relaxed Steve here as I see offline. So maybe that is possible. But you have any tips for us to get to that point?
I don't know. I think everyone's just going to be themselves, and I think we have to remember in the workplace, our teams probably know us better than we know ourselves, right? Our teams know from the very first words that come out of our mouth what type of day that person's having, right? Because we all know it, right?
Yeah.
And I think just being yourself, and I try to be myself as much as I can. And trust me, I'm not. I think these videos have illustrated the sort of roller coaster of life, right? Yeah, we put it down to the environment we're operating in, but actually, I think we all go through it every day in life generally. But no, I don't have any tips. I just try to be myself, and basically what you see here is pretty much, like you say, what I am here is what I am off camera. Maybe off camera I'm a little more vocal in my opinions. I'm a little more controlled here, perhaps,
Yeah.
but I try to be as relaxed as I can.
I do
Um,
want your
but
opinion on something, if this is a good time to
okay,
shift
go ahead.
gears. I love paradoxes, right? Well, something came to
Hmm.
mind this weekend, as here we are, May 4th, and May is the month that a lot of economies are opening and there's a debate going on. It seems people have gotten into their polarized extremes again. Either you want to open the economy and kill everybody, or you want to stay locked down and protect everybody. Well, remember, and I know that's not a good picture of what's really going on. We need to find nuanced dialogue and strategic thinking and strategies to help us move forward through this pandemic, because it is a long journey and we need to be thinking of others first, right? So that idea we've addressed here of short-term selfish focus versus long-term others focused. It's not about me, it's about we. It's about the society, it's about the organization, and whatever it might be, other people putting their needs above your own. So we all sacrificed in the short term these last couple months to flatten the curve, to protect the healthcare workers, to try to reserve resources, and also we continue to want to social distance and do all the things we're doing to be careful of harming others. We wear masks not to protect ourselves, but to protect others. So it's that others focus, right? So what do you think when you see protesters wanting to get the economy reopened because they are, upset at the lockdowns in their state don't allow them to get back to work or get back into some new normalcy? Um, do you think, what's your first gut reaction when you see those reports? Is it they're the selfish ones, or what? And I don't want to
Yeah, no, no, no,
tease
no,
it,
no,
but I'm looking at
yeah.
this in a couple different directions.
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate the question. When I see that, the first thing that goes through my head is those first responders, the health workers, all those people who've put themselves on the line over these months, well, months, almost a couple of months now, during lockdown, and the fatigue, the effort, the strain that they've had to go through for themselves, for their families. I think of those people. Now, I also think of those people who are protesting. One has to think and believe that what they're actually going through, they've made a calculated decision in their own mind that actually I need the economy to open so that I can, one, earn an income for my family, feed my family, look after my family. So I see it from that perspective. So I look at it all those different ways. From a personal opinion, do I want the my local economy to open? I actually was out in a cycle on Saturday and I was surprised, amazed by the amount of people who were in stores, the amount of restaurants that had the doors open, shops, stores had the doors open. And I was just like, I gotta get home because there's like so many people out and about.
Hmm.
And this is in a state where there's a lockdown. There is no opening of anything. And I hadn't seen that before over prior weekends. Prior weekends, it was quieter, less traffic, less people. Obviously, it was a beautiful day. People want to get out and they want to do things. I totally understand that too. But I was surprised by the activity and the amount of activity that I saw. Um, and I also noticed an additional amount of cars on the road. And again, I mentioned last week, cycling through Bethpage State Park, it was mayhem,
Hmm.
absolute mayhem.
Yeah.
And but I get it as well, right? Everyone wants to get outside and everyone wants to do the things. No different to me wanting to be out on my bike. I get it. So as I go through there, though, I'm just like, am I missing something myself? Am I overthinking how serious this is? And I have my own opinion, and obviously I keep myself informed on different things, and I have to do what's right for me. And I suspect those people who are protesting are doing what they think is right for them. So as you pondered the question, what sort of conclusions or thoughts did you come to?
Well, first of all, there's two different sets of people here. There's the people that you just described in the park, and the ones I would say are on the beaches. There's the stir crazy folks that are wanting to just get out and have time in outdoors because they're claustrophobic from being or cabin fever set in. That's a different conversation. Those folks, I think it is absolutely selfish if they're crowding together and trying to just for their own pursuit of fun going to the beach. And I anticipate that I would like to go to the beach this summer under physical distancing guidelines. And I think that the Jersey Shore, where I always go, will reopen. And I hope they'll put it in practical rules in place where you keep your distance and you don't have that family that after you've already established yourself with a location on the beach with your umbrella and your blankets down, somebody comes up and just gets right next to you. There's hopefully going to be some social protocols in place that say let's keep our distance so therefore we can all enjoy the time outdoors. But I was talking more specifically about those folks that are protesting, and I see in the media assigning those people selfish motives. Where I kind of had this epiphany over the weekend that it's the people like us, and we've talked about that we're in this unique category, a certain percentage of the population that has been able to continue to do our work. We continue to make an income. We continue to be able to work from home effectively. And yes, it's an inconvenience for us, but really our lives have not been disrupted more than the fact that it's an inconvenience and we have to have adjusted to some of these Zoom fatigue issues and things like that. But there's a big part of the population that has not been able to work at all and is either on unemployment or is trying to get unemployment or their company is going out of business, their restaurant's going out of business, their factory is closed. Those folks are the ones that I think are protesting because they need to get back because they have to get food on the table and take care of their family. So the irony or the paradox is we can look at it two ways. Now all of a sudden, if you say you hear people say let's stay locked down to protect the public health, it's selfish to go back to work because we need to stay locked down to protect all the vulnerable people and to keep the the flattening the curve mentality. Because if we re-engage, we're going to put more people at risk, and reopening equals death. Well, there's this other side of it that what if we're the ones being selfish because we can stay locked down for a year or more and continue to do our jobs inside the home and not have to re-engage, aren't we being selfish, not thinking of those who can't do that and those that can't wait a year, they can't wait another month without a paycheck because they literally are in a different scenario.
Mm.
So there's this paradox that depending on how you look at it, are we being the selfish ones by staying locked down and are not permitting them to reopen or not permitting them to get back to work? That was my kind of
Yeah.
I see it both ways. There's two sides to this story is what I'm saying.
No, it's a great point, Mike, and it almost goes back to whenever we looked at a few weeks ago now when we talked about what's our social responsibility, right? Is it our social responsibility to get up and get out to actually support those people who need it? But yeah, no, it is a great perspective. It really is, and sort of we sort of take that and dovetail into the workplace. About you take that little thread you said about when should employees go back to the office and when is the right time, and I posted a question in Open Source Workplace on Friday, I believe it was. And the question was, when do you think employees should return to the office? And I was a little surprised by the outcomes. I wonder if you will be too. So there was four options: when the local stay in place orders are lifted, when employees have been tested, when vaccines are available, or let employees decide. My anticipation was let employees decide would have been by far the greatest supported answer. And it was 44%, but I expected that to be a lot larger than that. 24% stated when local stay and order places are lifted. That surprised me. I actually thought,
Mm.
given the workplace environment and sort of the people who come to open source workplace, I would have anticipated that number to be a lot lower, but I think it does reflect a lot of the things that you just raised. And that may be the reason why a lot of people feel that way. And then there's another 20% that says whenever they've been tested. So if you consider when two things are achieved, the local stay in place orders are lifted and people can be tested, that's 44%. That equals the same as employees should decide. Now, that's not to say that employees should decide that people won't go back when the stay in order place are lifted, but this is the employee perspective. So it's interesting connotation whenever you take what your mind, what your thought was, and then also the results that we're seeing in that question.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's a complex problem. It's a wicked problem. It's something that when you move one lever up or down, the other one seems to have to be adjusted too. So you've got all these
Hmm.
moving parts. And I think that's why we need leadership. We need leadership in our organizations. We need leadership in our government. And we need that nuanced, balanced approach. And I have been asking for that kind of visionary leadership since day one of this pandemic when I agreed to just trust the decision making around these lockdown orders and the shelter, stay in place orders. And we did it, and now we're into this phase where it's like, okay, 2 months down the road, what's different? What do we do next? What's the next step? And there's a lot of different opinions coming in, and I think a lot of people do trust the government to make the right choice, and they trust their authorities. And it's probably a similar, if you took a poll, you'd probably see I trust my local authorities more than I trust my national authorities, or the farther away that governmental leader gets from the local situation, the more we distrust them. There's a poll out there that Congress is they're the least trusted body, next to the president or up there. But when you talk about your local, mayors and city and people and people who tend to have more of a awareness of your locality, that people
Hmm.
trust those folks more. So I think this decision about reopening is going to have to be a regional one, a local one, and I think that's where we're headed. But you're going to have people in those localities that disagree with their decisions, and then what do you do in that scenario? We are a free America, and then it becomes, I don't know. I hope we can find that whatever your situation, whatever my situation, we look at the situation and say, what's best for all of us, the longer term view, as opposed to the selfish, shorter term perspective. Yes, I would like to go back to the movies, next weekend. But no, that's an inconvenience for me, and I'm okay sacrificing it. It's a very small sacrifice. It's the person who's not able to do their job and pay their bills that I need to be thinking about. And what can I do, as you talked about the social responsibility, what can I do to help that other person get income flowing. And if that means, and that's what I hope that's what I've been doing. It's my, almost it's a happy duty to be able to order takeout. If I'm helping a local restaurant under this scenario by ordering a lot of takeout more than I normally would have, I think that's something I can do to help those restaurants. Now, when they open their doors next week or next month and say, come on back in, that's where it's going to take some courage and bravery to say, all right, I'll go in there. They're going to have the tables more separated. But is it going to be like a comfortable thing for me to go back and sit in that scenario and back in public? I don't think it will be. It's like all those mental thoughts that I talked about with getting together with the kids over the weekend will be something that happens every time we consider these types of re-engagements. And I just hope we'll all think of others and think of, the bigger picture, and not just make blanket statements that this decision is wrong because, I see it as something that scares me personally, or is a danger to me personally. There has to be that level of freedom and
Yeah,
ability to let others choose. So I thought there'd be more people that would say, let the employees choose.
me
And
too.
it is surprising.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think we sort of take your thread of what you were saying and you take this survey. I think what organizations, and I know that many are thinking this, but is in essence, how do they become more agile organizations? So whether an employee comes into the office, whether they work from home, it's irrelevant. It just does not matter. So how do they create those environments? How do we create those virtual workspaces so that employees can operate, can be innovative, can be productive, and that's sort of weaving those things together. So that's a tough thing to do. Change is hard, especially going through tough times. It's the hardest time to pivot, but it's sometimes it actually is the easiest time to pivot because it forces a change, it forces a reaction, and this may be the ideal opportunity for a lot of organizations to revisit some of these thoughts and concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hearing all kinds of great conversations taking place, and we'll continue to hear them about the strategy and the protocols and the procedures and making people comfortable. And that's what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue to. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter, but in a lot of ways it does, because it's um, making sure we are looking at for everybody, and not just our own needs or even our own team needs, our own organization needs. Because you mentioned it before, that if you reopen the offices and no one shows up, what about all those cafes and coffee shops and restaurants in the area that are dependent on those buildings to be occupied? Um, Again, we have to address a lot of things. We're going to have some challenging times in our society and our economy, and I think we'll have to adjust and help those other people adjust and adapt. And
Hmm.
it's going to be a long journey. So again, those who said when we started this thing, a month and a half ago, that we'd have nothing to talk about, it's certainly not turning out to be the case.
It certainly isn't, and it just every day throws out different challenges, different thoughts, different concepts, and yeah, we get plenty to talk about. So as we wrap up here, Mike, I hope you really enjoy your May 4th celebrations, and I
Well,
hope you
thank you,
get to
Steve.
enjoy your Star Wars day.
You didn't know this was coming, but you can fade out as I bring in my friends R2D2 and C3PO, and I will play the music as I say goodbye to you. But have a great day. May the fourth be with you.